We are recording. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 815. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mike Smith. Thank you very much for downloading and subscribing to the show. Please visit the main website at miketechshow.com. You can email me questions and suggestions for show topics at miketechshow@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit the YouTube page /Michael Smith MTS, and you will get all of the videos for 2021 and 2022 as I post them up after the show. This show is brought to you by Instant House Call. Remotely support your clients. If you are an IT pro or an MSP, this is what you need. You can have unattended and on-demand remote access. Try it free by clicking on the link on my website at miketechshow.com. It's right on the left-hand side. Use the promo code MikeTechShow for your free 15-day trial, and you can go directly to instanthousecall.com. This show is also brought to you by Magnus Box, the best online backup service for your clients. You can purchase Office 365 backup. You can have full image. You could just have file and folders. It supports all operating systems. They're HIPAA compliant. You can test and have a trial experiencing the same features as paying partners. For listeners of the podcast, mention the Mike Tech Show and you'll receive free white labeling for your company and get 50% off the platform fee for your first 3 months. There will be a story from the trenches about Magnus Box in another couple minutes. So I got great show lined up and lots of topics. Like I said, I have 3 stories from the trenches, and then I have the best free software for your PC according to February PC World. I'm going to not go through each one, but I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom on how you get them all and how easy it is. And I've talked about one of the software, one of the websites and the software that you need to get, and you need to have this in your toolbox. This is your go-to site. And so we got that, and then I got a stack of email. I don't know if I'm going to get to all the email, but we're going to try. We are kicking off tonight's show with an emergency that happened yesterday. So mid-morning, I get a text message from one of our clients that's a retainer client that is as a matter of fact, Taz knows them. It's the company that does all of our promotional items. They do our business cards, our shirts. We have a couple jackets. They are the great T-shirts. They are incredible printing and promotional company. Well, there was a noise coming from the peer server, and it's so cool. The admin recorded the noise coming from the server, and it was ugly. And I jumped right in remotely and ran the Malwarebytes Tech Bench scan, and there were 42,000 smart errors on the data hard drive that holds all their data. They have 279 gig of data. Now, I said, let's see if we can hang in there till my son gets on site. One of the things, this is a mechanical drive. And before the show, I said, I will never, ever, 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 ever use a mechanical drive ever again. And Dexter in the chat text, what about NAS? And I'm like, oh, no, you're right. What about surveillance? I'm like, no, the Western Digital purple drives for the DVRs. Okay, so there are times where we're going to use mechanical drives, and then I started thinking, my external 12 terabyte Seagate drive here. Is it Seagate, or I think it is because it was an ST. We were looking at that before the show. Well, that's a mechanical drive. And I'm like, oh my. And that's a NAS drive. I think it was an Iron Wolf that I have. So there are places for mechanical drives, but never in a server again, never in a peer server, which this is, or a workstation. So my son brought the solid state drive out, and then I was going to have him call me, and I was going to just transfer everything to that drive. We should never have turned it off because it was never to boot again. We shouldn't have turned it off. I should have just had him plug it in via USB 3 and then transferred all the data, and then we would have been fine. Maybe then shut it down, then pop it in. But here's the thing. When he shut it down and put that drive in, it would not boot. As a matter of fact, I said take all the drives except the PCI NVMe on the motherboard. It would never boot. It wouldn't boot. I said, okay, take it out of there. Get it back to our office. First thing you do, I want to know that you can blow away Windows 10, just reinstall it. There's only one application that they need, and I know that can get reinstalled. So he installed that. Great. Took the mechanical drive. All it did was make that noise and never to be accessed again. I have a nightly Magnus Box online backup using files and folders. And that backs up every night. And it has been successful. There's 279 gig. So now I'm glad it's at the home office in Pennsylvania. I have gigabyte up and down. So once my son got Windows installed and updated, then I remoted in and installed the Magnus Box client. And then I did a show on how to do recovery to another system. So you install the client as a different name. So even though we named it server still, I called it server 2 in Magnus Box land, so it would be different than the last set of backups, and then restored from the night before. So now, how long is it going to take? So we're all set that 8 a.m., my son would come to the office, pick up the box, hopefully it's all done, and then take it back to the client, get it all set up in the morning. I was monitoring, and it started out slow for the storage. I started it at 4 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, it was done. 279 gig, perfectly restored, and I can't think of a better testimonial for Magnus Box. That is the biggest restore that I've ever had to do for a client. And they were extremely excited. They just couldn't save to the server for the afternoon. That was it. They were down. And they were all happy. And then my son went back in the afternoon. Well, actually, he remoted in, used Instant House Call to work with the software company. They have very custom scanning that the application runs on the server, and it works with the Sharp copier where they can walk up and they're prompted for the account number for that client, and the scan goes right into the proper folder. So there's a bunch of rules, and this is custom software. I think it's called Drive, but with a double V. I've talked about that a long time ago when they first installed that. I thought it was fascinating. and it just works great. And they're up and running. Everything's perfect, and happy on this, and so glad that the restore worked perfectly for Magnus Box. Yeah, you have to have an online backup for disaster. Yes, you should have a local backup, but I will do local backup of images, but I haven't been doing it for this client. So I may consider that again, just so I don't have to go through the restore, like of reinstalling that software. But again, that wasn't a big deal. You can always reinstall software. It's the data. So you got to at least have the file and folders backing up every single night. All right. Story 2, this is easy. So inviting an Android client on Apple FaceTime. And you could do this with Windows users. So the first, I'd say the first link's going to be Magnus Box, but the second link for tonight is from the Cult of Mac, and it is how to invite Android and Windows users to FaceTime. So this is pretty cool. So here's what you do. You bring up FaceTime on your Apple device, whether it be the iPad. I like doing this from my iPad because it's right in front of me, below me, and I got the big screen. But I'm going to use my iPhone right now. So if I start typing FaceTime, and let's go I have to spell correctly. So FACE. So click FaceTime. Now there's an option, and you have to have iOS 15 or greater, create link. And now what you do is you pick how you're going to send the link back to, whether it be, someone via text or via mail. And then when they get the link and click on it, no matter where they are, no matter what phone they're using, they'll be able to contact you via FaceTime. So that link will be in the chat. And the reason I'm doing that twice this week, since Monday, 2 Android users. I needed the one Android user to walk me through. I needed to walk them through those initial questions on the first startup of a new laptop. And that client is in New York. I'm sitting here in Florida. I had them hold up their phone. That was a beautiful thing. And I walked them through all the options. Then I had another client that had to reboot some network devices in their closet. And I was able to, he says, Mike, look, he says, somehow FaceTime me. I said, no problem. And he went and started pointing to and I said, there you go, that blue one, pull the power plug out of it. Pulled the power plug out, put it in, boom, up and running. So that really saved us. So wanted to, now the third in the trenches. And this becomes important when you have clients right now getting cyber insurance, getting their insurance policies, and anything for their cybersecurity strategy. One of the requirements we're seeing is a secure email gateway. And a lot of companies don't offer that, but Proofpoint does. And I've talked about them in the past. Now, I buy the Proofpoint through SureWeb because SureWeb's my main email. I buy all my Microsoft. I buy all my SharePoint. I use my client's login for that, or actually I make my own login. And then what I do is I then help them make the purchases, or I make the purchases in the portal. So I add it for Proofpoint advanced licenses. Now SureWeb has to stage it for me. Now, I hadn't heard from them in a few days because we needed to get this running. So I called to beat them up, and it was not their fault. The owner of the company, who really can't be bothered with this detail, I'm actually working with his wife, who's one of the admins, and we didn't know that the emails for the staging and needing a response was going to him. So I got myself injected into the process with tech support. And so I opened a ticket and they merged the ticket, and now was being notified because I had to put text records into the DNS. This was another thing that I want to talk about as an option. So I have two-factor authentication for GoDaddy. Anytime I'm going into my GoDaddy account, I have to, I'll get a code. My clients also have that. So now I need to work on the DNS for that client. I finally got him on the phone and said, what I want you to do is give me the code. I'm going to log in one time, and I am going to invite me to be an admin of your account. So you can do that with GoDaddy, and that's a great idea. You want to do that with Microsoft accounts. I'm glad the software companies have put in place, even SureWeb has it, where I can have my own set of admin logins with my own two-factor authentication for security, and I can take care of everything without bothering my client. So once I got him off the hook for having to keep getting me connected, it was great. I was able to make those changes. Then they followed up to say, okay, these are the DNS changes. So now I was able to make and then I had to take snippets of the domains that they have for the email showing proofpoint, and that those domains are part of the proofpoint, and that helps their security rating and the cyber insurance for the policy. So I've actually had a couple clients where proofpoint was a solution, and especially if the hosted exchange or the software company does not provide any kind of encryption capability, well, then you can add on proofpoint to be able to do encrypted emails. Okay, so that was the third story. Reading my digital copy, I only get 2 magazines via my Kindle app on my iPad. I get Maximum PC and I get PC World. And when the new issues come, I usually just browse them real quick and I look for something. Is there anything cool? Something, read some articles, read some stories, maybe some ratings. Maybe there's a product I like. Ooh, I want to try that. Well, in February PC World, they did the 20 best free software that you should have on your PC. So I have an easy way that I am going to do this and show everybody. The first one, they like Edge. Edge is okay. I mean, I'm not going to poo-poo it. I'll tell you, I'm warming up, quite frankly, to Chrome more, even though I'm a diehard Firefox user. So the site that you can add most of this is Ninite. That was their second site, and I need to move my notes over. There we go. So Edge was the first piece of software. Ninite is the second. Now, in Ninite, you can check all of these free programs and make it one download, get your Ninite, and it will install everything that you've checked. It will go to the software, answer all the questions, and bring it back. So you have Ninite.com. I'm going to skip around and then come back to the ones that aren't part of Ninite. But you can tag Malwarebytes for antivirus, anti-ransomware, Launchy, 7-Zip. This is required. We have a standard for all programs that we install on a new system. When you're setting it up, then what we do is 7-Zip is required. VLC, that's another one required for any videos that you're playing. Paint.net. I've never used that. I'm not a drawer, but that's another program you can tag here. Paint.net. Audacity, they love. I use that. I'm recording. Every Mike Tech show is recorded. The audio is done in Audacity. Revo Uninstaller. Sumatra PDF. Spotify or iTunes. You can click both of them and have them installed. iTunes, Spotify. LibreOffice. Now, Steam for games. So all these were listed in the 20. Now, here are the ones that aren't. Unchecky. I haven't talked about that in a while. This is a program that you can download and it will uncheck options. A great example is when you go to install Adobe Reader, they always try to shove down our throats McAfee, and it will uncheck those boxes. I can't tell you how many times we have clients that they forget to uncheck all of those unrelated offers while you're installing software. Anyway, you can go to unchecky.com. That link will be in the show notes. LastPass is not listed in Ninite, but I really want you to check out RoboForm if you do. Then AutoHotkey, I've talked about that for automating tasks. Let's see, what else is not there? They recommend Space Sniffer. I'm not a fan of that. I like Tree Size. I love the free Tree Size program. That's phenomenal. Recovering Software, Recover. That's another great program. Now, I am going to just give a moment to a VPN software that they like that I have never tried, and it's called TunnelBear, and it's tunnelbear.com, and I'm going to put that in the chat for everybody, and then, of course, that'll be in the show notes. There's a big bear on the page. I have not played with this. Anybody that's used TunnelBear, I'd love a review. If you can compare that to OpenVPN or, some of the other VPN products, that would be awesome. So come back to the website, MikeTechShow.com, for everything that you need and all the notes and all the links for tonight. I am now going to read some emails, and let me, as I get ready here for the toolbar, I always make changes before I show my display. So you know what? We're going to start, since I think he's still here in the chat. Dexter has a question, so let's get to some email. We have some time. Hi, Mike. Have a question. How do you handle Windows Server updates? We log into the server on the last weekend of the month. We log into servers that cannot run Synchro. We log in the weekend after Patch Tuesday. That's always our plan. And put on critical updates on. Servers are set to download and notify. So are we. This is 2 weeks removed from Patch Tuesday to give the Microsoft gods a chance to fix things. Problem is, they do not. That is true. That's why you have to have a strong backup. Have one customer running a POS with Epson receipt printers that 3 of the last 4 months it has broke network printing to these network printers. Oh, yes. I am very familiar. And the zebra printing problem, that was horrible, horrible. Last month, I have a customer that updates caused server to constantly reboot. How are you filtering the bad ones out? And how, this is, thanks for the great shows. So here's the problem. We have less and less servers now that we're supporting. The servers that can run Synchro, I can suppress the updates. Servers that don't, I got to manually hide the update. I got to manually stop it when we manually log in and run the updates. Here's the problem with that. I try to be on top of it, but I mean, knock wood, I've been very, very lucky. And I've gotten to the bad ones, and we only have a couple days. And if it doesn't rear its ugly head in those first few days after Patch Tuesday, I could be caught flat-footed. I do like what you're doing, waiting to the end of the month. That's a smarter plan. I actually like that. And I have not gotten caught as hard as you have, Dexter. But that's what we do. We do manual when Synchro doesn't work, but RRMM and PSA Synchro I use for managing the updates. This is in response to the VPN, and this is from Bill. This is from my Sophos question. Hi, Mike. FYI, you can drop any OpenVPN file that you created for your connection into C program files x86 Sophos SOL, then VPN client, then config, and it will nicely appear on the Sophos VPN client menu and work fine. Much easier than looking for OpenVPN files to use. Also, to get a client their VPN setup, if you log into the WAN IP address of the Sophos or LAN without the 4444 on the far left, is the place where they can go to download and run the full VPN setup. Sophos will also sync with Active Directory. Yes, I know that, and the client that we inherited, that's exactly what it's doing. So you don't have to get them new logins. If the client ever stops connecting, the first thing is download a new one. Sometimes the firewall updates make you need a newer client. Hope this helps. Yes, Bill, learning that was incredible. Bill has another question here. Let's see. I think more this is info. So let's see. This is about VoIP. I also do phone systems for the last 4 or 5 years. At home, I have been running OOMA, OOMA. A lot of you have been recommending that. And he goes on for probably 20 years. The box is under $100, and you can use standard phones on it. They also make a business one that I have no experience with. We sell a number of IP systems. If it is a tech person asking, then 3CX is probably a good choice. We could sell him the license, and they could install it on a retired computer. It runs on most OS, including Windows and Linux. It takes an array of phones. We can help with the SIP trunk as well. We also sell Grandstream, which are reasonably priced. I've never heard of these that you're recommending. We can remotely help with any setup issues. By the way, we have not tested them yet, but a high-end tech friend now swears by Grandstream Wi-Fi. They have excellent APs and a free cloud-based management system as well. Let's hope it stays free at a good price. So awesome, Bill. Thank you so much. This is a follow-up from Bob about the mapped Synology drives. I wrote him about turning on SMB at the workstations, and his first response was, "Hi, Mike, the NAS was configured like that, but when I brought up the client, SMB was turned off." Microsoft goes in and unchecks that sometimes. It was working all along before the update, so I wonder if it reset the settings. Oh, it absolutely did, like it does with the default apps. Who knows? Because of them, we both have jobs fixing issues they cause. Thanks for your help. So he also followed up with this. Just a follow up, I have already responded to your email when I heard your latest podcast where you also mentioned the power management settings on the NIC. Yes, I thought I had already done that from another issue I had in the past. And when I checked it, it had been disabled. So the good news is that all the connections remain up on both the server network shares and the NAS shares. So I think I am good again, at least until the next round of updates. Man, updates are killing us all as the emails keep coming and coming. So interesting email here. And I think everybody listening is going to know my answer to this. First of all, I enjoyed the podcast. I've been listening to you for about a year and found a number of helpful tips along with just interesting topics. And by the way, this is from Tom. I have a question about backups, which I know are critical. How do you handle backing up files if the location of any number of files changes between backups? For example, the regularly scheduled backup is done. Users move a bunch of files to different folders. The next scheduled backup is completed. In a relatively short amount of time, there would be duplicate files all over the various backups, making file restoration pretty impossible. No, that's actually not true. When it comes to not restoring duplicates, it would also be very difficult to determine which is the most recent version of the moved files without checking manually for the newest file date. Asking the users not to move files is unreasonable. No, it's not. Yes, I agree with you. It is unreasonable. He continues, and also not likely to be followed. Plus, there are many valid reasons to move the files and folders. You must be doing just copies like sync back, where it just backs up what's there and then you have duplicates. That's not the way I'm going to talk about for backups. Is there a way to create a backup so it accounts for users moving files to different folders and prevents duplicates? Yes, and it's called Magnus Box. Thanks for any of your help or other listeners can provide. This has been a problem I've not been able to figure out. Tom, I want you to get a test license. Go to magnusbox.com. Mention that you heard him on the Mike Tech Show. Test it with one of your systems and do that. And do a backup and then move it. And then wait until you see the restore. It depends on the day you're restoring it. So let's say Tuesday, the client moves a ton of stuff. Well, Tuesday night's backup, when you restore, it's going to be part of the move. It's not duplicating it. It's the difference and the changes between the last backup. So it depends what moment in time. What day do you go back to do the restore? And then it will pull everything from the last backup to then. So if you, it's also got file versioning. So think about this. A lawyer writes a file, a brief, and he has, let's call it, brief ABC, and he writes it on Monday. He makes changes on Tuesday. He makes changes on Wednesday. He makes changes on Thursday. He says, man, I wish I had Mondays. He can call me and say, can you get me Monday's copy? Yes, I can. I'll go to Monday night's backup and I will drill down and pick that file and I will restore it. There you go. Same thing happens with Shadow Protect, which is still kind of old software that I use for local backups. I'm getting away from it because you can also do a local full backup with Magnus Box to your own external drive. Yeah, that's right. You don't have to back up to the service for all of your things. You can do a full backup, an image backup locally, and then for disaster recovery, make sure you're backing up online. That is the best of both worlds. I have a lot of clients that have Shadow Protect for a local image. That happens every night. And then after that, the file folder backups go to Magnus Box online. That takes care of everything. I have not been disappointed, and I have, The consulting gods are going to punish me for this. And I've not had clients angry because I couldn't restore something. I have been able, and knock wood, to restore everything that I've been asked or needed to restore. I have been very, very fortunate. So, given that, I think, Tom, you got to try it out to be a believer, and then you go on board. That is it for tonight's show. Got a lot of links that I'm going to have in the show notes over at MikeTechShow.com. Remember, we gave a lot of love to Magnus Box tonight. Go to MagnusBox.com and check them out. Instant house call. Man, use that all the time. Love it, love it, love it. I wouldn't be in business if I didn't have that. And then, of course, we got Fabs Auto Backup Pro. Love that software. Again, we use this every week. Someone in the chat, I normally don't take questions, but I have to. What do you use for local backups for the Mac? That's easy. Time Machine. I could be one of the few people that actually love Time Machine, and I have used it successfully. You get an external drive, you plug it in, and you activate Time Machine, and you dedicate that drive to Time Machine. Now, what about disaster recovery of your Mac? Guess what? Magnus Box supports the Mac, and that's what you use for backing it up. So I answered E071585 in the chat. But Time Machine's free, and it's included. That's your perfect local backup. All right, that's it. Hope everybody got something out of tonight. Definitely, you got to go to ninite.com for anything you go to install. You will love it. That is it. I will hopefully see you and talk at you next week, same time, same channel. Bye-bye, everybody.